Hey guys, I'm going to talk about some contemporary music going on today that I'm really, really excited about. So, I guess I don't have this planned or what I'm going to say and what I'm going to forget to say. And I'm not an expert here. I'm just coming at this for tourists, but I found a great scene of music that's happening right now and I'm very excited about it. But let's see how I'm going to tell the story. So, you know how like record collectors or music lovers were always looking for like a new song or a new album or something we haven't heard before to scratch that itch. And whether you're digging through old 45s or looking for obscure 70s records or heavy metal bands you never heard, or if you're just like keeping up with new bands and seeing which one sounds exciting. Well, I found a band about 2 years ago. I mean, they're pretty famous now, but I did a whole video ranting about them. But it was basically this journey started with the band Homefront. They're from Edmonton, Canada. I did a video where I probably talked way too much raving about this record, but I was very excited. This is Games of Power, came out in 2023. And to me, something new and exciting was happening with this record, where it was a punk band, people influenced off classic punk, young kids or, fairly young kids. And they started mixing new wave, synth wave, and alternative sounds like The Cure, Gary Newman, Human League into it. And it was exciting to me because they weren't going retro. They were taking the 77, 82 punk thing and actually moved because that was their scene, and the sounds evolved naturally going forward the same way the Blitz album, if you know the second album Blitz, which I'll talk about, moved forward. Like the original 77 punk changed, some of those bands changed. Anyway, they are kind of on that trend, and this album is absolutely exciting. Maybe I'll leave a link to me yapping about this video if you don't know. But then this is their earlier, this is a mini LP, I think 6 tracks from 2021, which it really mixes like the Cure Disintegration record with contemporary punk, but like contemporary bands doing that classic punk. And it really wonderful. But anyway, so that gave me a buzz of this sound. And then I discovered, and I found out about them because these bands are known to thousands of people. But I found the band Rixe from France. And they put out this EP, 4 songs, which is on the same label as Homefront, actually. La Vida es un Muse. La Vida es un Muse. And this 4-song EP knocked me out. They took traditional, they're a standard oi band, French oi band, Rixe, so at least they have been for years. And they put out this 4-song EP, which all of a sudden had drum machines, keyboard sounds, like crazy echo, and they started breaking rules and pushing boundaries that I've never heard pushed before, like from this angle of rock and roll. Every sound on any of these records you probably heard in a different context, but to put it all together. Anyway, so I really love this record, and I saw them live, and just to show, I guess I should do a little quick story for people who don't know. And this is the Rixe, this is before when they were more of a standard French oi band, and this is a collection of all their singles, EPs, splits, cassettes, whatever it is, and it's awesome, like retrospective. But this sound is not like this sound. This is more standard French oi, which I should go on about. If you don't know what oi music is, it's that late 70s English street rock and roll sound, like street punk, like kind of based on standard rock and roll structure, catchy hook choruses and a lot of anthemic stuff. Their influence is probably like 70s glam rock stompers, probably a little ska in there, and English pub rock. Mix all that together, and it's kind of like the working class anti-fashion, anti-hipster, punk rock new wave that was going on. Bands like Cockspara, Sham 69, Foreskins, and of course the band Blitz, who really fits into this. Blitz are straight up angry street punk band from England, and somewhere in 82 the band members changed, it got messy, but they put out this record, Second Empire Justice, maybe 1982, and it's kind of like a new wave synth wave record, and it alienated all their friends. The album tanked. I'm sure some people liked it, but somewhere about 5 or 6 years ago, I started hearing about this record again, and I revisited it, as did a whole bunch of other people, and it's kind of reevaluated into becoming its own classic. And they call this cold oi music mixed with like synth wave or cold wave. And anyway, so this album was a big influence on these scenes, and I'm going to play the Rixe. I'm just rambling now, but we're going to go through some really good records and a couple of new records or newer records that I think are absolutely fantastic. And you don't even have to like oi, because the experimentation and how far they're breaking boundaries is pretty amazing. But we're going to hear a track or two here, just a couple of snippets to give you the gist of how they're breaking the rules of French oi. And to talk about French oi was always slightly different than British oi, which was standard rock and roll. French oi oftentimes had a different slant on it, a different angle, maybe a little more artsy, a little more experimental or dancey, maybe because of that band Metal Urbane or Camera Salans. I'm not really sure, but there was always something a little different about French oi to English oi. But we're going to hear some of this, and this is where we're getting into the sound that I really like. Well, anyway, that was two tracks off this Rixe, but stick around. There's going to be some really cool records that I show that don't sound like this, that are absolutely amazing. But so Rixe is going and changed their sound. And there was a classic French band that's been around for many years called Syndrome 81. And they were basically their standard take on French oi. But so what happened is, and I'm not a historian, and I'm not very knowledgeable, I'm just coming as a tourist and a music fan that maybe could put this in context of music history or, kind of a scene. But I will drop a link in the bottom. There's another guy who talked about this, Punk Rock Review channel, did a little documentary or kind of a short video on the new wave of French oi, and there's a lot of cold oi, which we're going to be talking about. And he really covers this topic, and he probably did it about a year or two ago. But I'm a little late to the game. But anyway, this record came out in 2022, and I think a lot of this stuff happened during the pandemic. I don't know this, but I imagine these people were locked in their houses, these band members, and they were stuck at home, and someone had a chorus pedal for a guitar or a phaser. Someone else had a cheap keyboard, and the experimentation happened because coming out of the pandemic, there was also a drastic left turn happening in the French punk, street punk, and oi scene, and a lot of amazing things happened. But anyway, this is Syndrome 81, and I'll play it. They're a little more straight oi, but they start having this cold oi influence with jangly guitar, not jangly, but almost like a dark wave guitars and some different sounds. And I'll play, there's still standard oi band, but we're going to hear a track from this to give you an idea of where it's heading. And this is 2022. the track. So anyway, like they're starting to mix in like guitar sounds from the Cult, like Love album. You might not hear too much, but I hear it. And if you knew oi music and street punk and cold wave, dark wave, synth wave, whatever new wave you want to mix, these two genres didn't mix. But these bands are now younger. Like this is now, we're talking the third or fourth wave of oi. So these kids were born in the 90s or early 2000s when, you know, now there's no rules where you could have never pulled this off in the 90s or even especially in the 80s and stuff. But so they're mixing these sounds and it's crazy. But the next band, this album, this is the epitome or the most excited I've been about an album. And it's a band called the Oi Boys from France. And it's kind of funny name because Oi Boys is like this kind of cheap, jokey, trite name, and the Oi Boys, it's not a jokey, trite album, and it's not even oi. It's like experimental, and this is a wonderful record. You know, I guess to put it in two words, when a snippet to describe it, I'd say if you took London Calling Clash and mixed it with to that mid-'80s Depeche Mode, and you end up with the Oi Boys, like something I've never heard. And it's all this stuff is sung in French, and I really like it. I'll talk about the vocals in a little bit, but let's hear this absolute 10-star record. I'll do another couple samples on this. I really like the French vocals, and it's singing in France, so I don't get distracted by maybe some ham-fisted lyrics or the imagery I kind of create in my own, and it's all very desperate and dystopian. You know, there's a lot of political stuff, but it's almost post-political, where the feeling of all these records is we know our country is dying and it doesn't really matter, and we're just, you know, living on the top. And maybe that's helps why they just mix all the music together. They're like basically walking through a scrap heap of history and culture and just picking what works. And I don't know a ton about Cold Oi, but the way I was looking for it, I found it on, like, you go to Bandcamp and you look up, because there's all these bands popped up the last 3 years with demo tapes and little indie releases. So Bandcamp I search, and the best search is on YouTube, where I type in Cold Oi, and people made playlists of these cassettes and all these mixes, so you could go through, and the scene's only 3 years old. So you have all different sounds, and not everything's great. You know, some is real DIY, primitive. Some is closer to traditional Oi, so it just has little snippets of experiment. And some are radical. A lot of ones with girl singers, one with saxophone, some that are like surf music influence. But, you know, there's not a ton of bands. Let's say there's 40 bands, but you go through the releases, and it's a lot of fun. Listen what's happening in real time, or maybe I'm delayed a year or two on some of this, of how the music is being pushed forward. But let's see what else we'll play. We'll play this 45 by this band, Grizel, 2 tracks. And they're a little more guitar-based, but it's definitely something new and exciting. See, what I hear in this stuff, it reminds me of a lot of the New York hardcore scene and the DC scene that start like 1989, 90 Revelation Records or Discord Records, when the band started changing the traditional American hardcore punk sound and getting a little more angular or experimental. You know the bands like Quicksand, Into Another, Fugazi, obviously. I'm not saying these bands sound like that, but I feel that breaking new ground, and it's really exciting. But I went through, I love listening to all those bands on YouTube and searching out, so I tried to pick out the best ones, and this is one of the best, is No Filter, or Sans Filtre, No Filter. And total like street punk skinheads, or whatever they are, but like definitely like street people, no anti-fashion, anti-fascist, anti-politic, anti-everything, tough guys. But this album almost sounds like new wave keyboards from like a science fiction movie from like 1980, or one of those Italian post-apocalyptic, sci-fi soundtracks, mixed with really, really angry French vocals. But angry not as in a tough guy, angry as in desperation and frustration. And it's a wonderful record. This record, I'll play you some, but it's a draining record, in not like you get fatigued hearing it, but like as you just had like a wild experience, like you came out from a live show and you're just drained from how intense it is. It feels a lot like, the feeling on this is a lot like 80s gangster rap, where you have like nice music, but the vocals are just relentless and angry. Or maybe like the Sleaford mods, like to keep it more modern, where the vocals are just relentless, frustrated, angry, and upset, but the music's like pretty groove. But let's check this out. This album, I'll put this as another 10-star record for me. I'm not sure where you'd get it, but I've never heard anything like this. And I'm so happy to have discovered this stuff and to be on this scene while it's happening in real time. And I forget what year this album came out. This might be 2025 or 2024. Let's see if I can find a year. But dig the artwork. But let's But anyway, that was No Filter, and this album is intense. It's segued. It just keeps getting more intense as you listen to it. It's really exciting until like the last track. It relents a little. It's really good. The next band is going to be a typical band. I'm going to call them like the Iron Maiden of the scene. This is like the exact middle of the sound where we got Oi, and we have, maybe cult guitars and just a mix of things you never really heard, or I've never heard in this genre. And this is Rancor, and this is their brand new album from 2025. And then I have their last album, which I think was cassette originally. It was reissued on record. And this one's a little more raw, a little more like Iron Maiden's first album. And this would be more like Number of the Beast, let's say. But these are great. Maybe I would say they're probably like, rate them from anywhere from 6 to 9 stars, depending where you are. Right now, I'm in with these guys. But it's a beautiful record, and all these covers are wonderful because they're all like DIY, like 4AD covers. Like they want this. The artwork is all just so different than typical punk rock. But let's hear some of this. I'll just play a bit of the first album, which I really like it. I love this stuff. Well, anyway, this is Cold Oi, this French scene that I'm really digging now. And I'm not trying to recommend any of this stuff. I'm just pointing it out just so you're aware of it. But what great music it is. I may leave with one last track from the Oi Boys. I really think this is a masterpiece, 10-star album. And only because it's French and it's, you know, in that Oi music. I'm sure the kids in the scene love this record, but it never broke out. And I would appreciate if someone who's into like post-punk punk and has a wide knowledge of music, give a listen to this on YouTube. Type in Oi Boys full album and spend, you know, the half hour with it. Maybe listen to it twice and let me know if you hear, you know, if it's as important as I think it is. Because right now I'm in the bubble. You know, I get obsessed with something and I just go on and on about it. But let's...
T'as décidé de marcher seul, au loin tu vois ta ville en flammes. Dans ce wagon à ciel ouvert. Il n'y a plus rien derrière toi, juste la vie